Charles.
Hey, what's up, Professor O'Kane? How are you today?
Man, I don't even know where to start. I literally don't know where to start. I'm so happy to have you on the channel. I've wanted to do an interview with you for the longest time, and you decided to chance your neck on this.
Oh yeah, it'll be a nice time. I enjoyed chatting with you yesterday, so it's just more of that.
Great. Absolutely. Well, you know what? I think that, like I said, I don't even know where to start, but I'm just going to start with your style of music is as aggro as it is uplifting. I mean, there's something intrinsically that makes me feel good when I hear it. I don't know how to explain that intangible. I'm just going to just lob that one out there for you to.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. It's I don't know. It's just a lot of imagination and a lot of getting really bored and tinkering and ideas kind of running wild and chasing after them.
Now, you have this video called that's on your Instagram that's marked easy, which is blood orange, and it ain't.
I wrote it and it was supposed to be easy, and I was like, dang it.
Yeah, you didn't. Yeah, mission not accomplished.
Yeah.
So, like, us guitar players look at that, and I mean, just to parse out the how-to part.
Yeah.
I know that there's obviously the inspiration. There's the you know, like, you think that you're groggy. So obviously there's the inspiration portion of it, but there is all of the little pieces that make up your unique vocabulary. There's the scratching, there's the whammy pedal stuff, there's the, you know, incredibly picked alternate shred fest, the kill switch stuff. How did you go about taking all of those disparate tricks and making that into a musical vocabulary?
Oh, that's a really good question. My first ever guitar was not your average like starter guitar. It was a Fernandez Revolver Elite, which was a neck through guitar. It had a floating tremolo system. It had a sustainer system. So that was back when it was a Fernandez sustainer. And so I had a lot of these things that I implement nowadays, but I had no freaking clue how to do it. I was learning, my guitar teacher at the time was showing me Basket Case by Green Day and Jimi Hendrix, you know, like Little Wing, Wind Cries Mary, stuff like that. I'm a huge Hendrix fan. But it started off like just learning things by ear. He was a great teacher in like leaning into my ear and just like kind of my thought process. And I was writing music before I even knew how to play guitar. So I had this broken acoustic that had broken tuning pegs on it, and I would just make up stuff. I didn't even know how to tune it. And I just like had some music I needed to make, and just used the tools I had with that new guitar. And eventually I found Buckethead, and he had a kill switch. I didn't have a kill switch. I didn't know how to get a kill switch, so I pretended to have one. I was like pretending to have one on my volume knob, and I was doing, you know, the chromatic tapping with my right hand and all that stuff. And I was like, these are all really cool tricks, but how do you turn this into something that's listenable instead of it being like, you know, just kind of atonal stuff? Like, how do you give this substance? And I think that just took time. That just took a lot of ear training that came with a lot of practicing at the same time.
So what kind of music did you turn to, or not turn to, because I don't want to make it sound like you turned away from Hendrix or any of that stuff that you know, that was your bread and butter as a beginner.
Yeah.
Where did you point to after doing that portion of your, you know, musical upbringing?
The biggest change and the biggest pivot for me was a band called After the Burial, and that's because they were a local band at the time. They're a metal band from the Twin Cities, Minnesota, where I'm from. And I was like 16 when I heard of them. A buddy at school told me about them, and we went to this little coffee shop called Java Joint in St. Cloud, Minnesota, and they tore the roof off the place. They just like destroyed it, and they were playing 7-string guitars. They had their stacks up, and there was just like a wall of sound, and it was so intense. And it was like really cool to see people around my age do something so like technical and progressive, still implementing a lot of the techniques I knew how to do, but not in that way at all. And so it's just like the Justin Lowe, who passed away in 2015 from that band. He was so innovative, and just the ideas he had were just running wild. And that was super inspirational to see somebody do that and to implement, nylon string classical guitar into their music and electronic elements. And then I dabbled into electronic music a little bit as well. And it just kind of like I'm wanting to put it all together in just in my own weird little way.
So did your guitar teacher have you figure out Hendrix solos, and then did you do the same kind of thing with that band? Like, did you transcribe the stuff or try and play the complete songs?
I basically made really crappy original versions with their inspiration until I could finally. I learned a couple of their songs by ear and stuff, and I started just like trying to apply their thought process into my playing. Another band like Within the Ruins was kind of in that. Veil of Maya, Born of Osiris, like all those bands were like, I was super into their style. And even The Faceless, even though Michael Keane isn't exactly in love with Berried Alive at the moment, he's still like inspired me a lot back in the day.
Right. And would you consider yourself an improviser?
Most stuff I do is right off the top. Not physically though. Like when I'm writing, I'll hear an idea in my head and then I'll go make it. So my goal was to become really proficient at capturing ideas in real time and as accurately as I hear them in my mind. So I've been able to do that with lots of years of training on Pro Tools, training on guitar, obviously, piano, vocals, all that stuff is so I can get it in the moment and it doesn't sound so rehearsed, so clunky, so repetitive and forced. It's just kind of like natural. And it's still not perfect. I'm not saying I'm good by any regard, but I can capture ideas relatively quickly. Whereas, for example, Banana Bite, it's like it's not even the most recent song. We've had a very intense release schedule, but that song maybe took 2 days to create. And I had it like mixed in maybe a day, something like that. So like I've been getting really proficient at capturing ideas and like getting them on there and then releasing them instead of being like, dabbling for 10 years. Some songs have taken 10 years from, if we go all the way back to our second album, Fool's Gold, there was a song on there called No One Is Listening that I started writing when I was like 19 or 20. And so that was like 10 years later, basically, or almost 10 years when it came out. So I'm getting a lot more efficient at expressing myself in real time. But I don't know if you would call that improv, because if you played like a jazz chord progression and told me to go do stuff over it, it would probably be pretty bad. But if you let me go sit by myself in the corner with it, and I can sound some stuff out, some phrasing with my hands, and then some other things, I can figure out how to piece runs together and transitions together. I can have something pretty cool in about an hour.
Now, you mentioned piano. Did you start as a pianist before you started playing guitar?
Well, my parents bought an organ from a neighbor, and so I'd learn stuff by ear on there too. And then I was just like, so you just press down to create the notes, just like like this guitar. If I press down on these frets, I'm going to create a note. And so my dad made a guitar pick out of a Hot Wheels track, an orange Hot Wheels track. I don't know if you remember those things, but he
Right. Yes.
he was retired. He was a civil engineer from the Twin Cities. He retired, so he had a lot of time on his hands, and he made me a guitar pick. And I was like half-ass strumming and writing songs. And he's like, "What's that from?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And he's then from there we rented an actual guitar with tuning knobs. So I was like, "So this is the height of luxury." And then I got a paper. I was doing a paper out. I was a paper boy in my neighborhood, and that's when I bought the Fernandez. So I like saved for a year, rented for a year, took lessons, and then got the Fernandez and didn't know what I was doing at all with a Floyd Rose. Like, you know floating tremolo, right?
Yeah.
I put Zach Wild Boomers on that thing. You know, Zach Wild Boomers, it's like a 60 is the low E.
Yeah.
And I didn't know to adjust the springs in the back. So
Disaster.
my Floyd was like this, and my strings were like that far off the the guitar, off the fretboard,
Right.
yeah. But when I would go to like my parents' friend's house, and they had like acoustic guitars, I would just be able to like shred on them, and I wouldn't know why. And it's because my guitar was just like so ridiculously set up.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Now,
It's like
so your ear was you were working on your ear essentially as a child.
yeah.
And another thing that I think that is important to mention is that a lot of people become virtuosos and then they decide to write. And they're usually, their playing is incredible and their writing is terrible, and it just nothing ever really happens. But you've been writing all the time when you've been working on your playing. So your writing is very strong.
Thank you. I literally have tab books. Like, I used to buy blank tab books from the music store in town, and I have like 3 or 4 of them full of like written, notated songs from when I was a kid. With some of them with lyrics, some of them without lyrics. So I've always written, and that's actually my favorite part. That's the whole reason why I play guitar, so I can write. Everything else is in order to keep being able to write, basically.
Now, so are you writing the lyrics too on your songs?
Oh, sometimes, yeah. Kaylie, my wife, also helps with lyrics too, and she's written some of my favorite lyrics for a song like "Strawberry Serenity." That's a popular one. I think it has a couple million maybe 3 million on Spotify. She wrote the lyrics for that one.
There's a scratch, now my memory don't play the good parts. I'm detached from reality, too late to restart. Blowing my brains through my cranium and sell it as art. Delete the scene, I'm serene as I scream, Venom is spread to my brain. Every thought competes with insane.
Is she playing bass with your group?
Yes. And I got her into Pro Tools, and she writes some of the music too, and so it's kind of like a full-out family fun.
Family fun.
Yeah, but right.
She sounds great too. She really does sound great. Great
Yeah.
bass player.
Thank you. She's getting really, really good, and it's so fun recording her because you get to hear the progress. And a lot of the new stuff we've been recording, it's just kind of like hit record and watch her go, and you get a lot more. It's a lot less like segment by segment. She can just like do her thing, and I'm just watching like, oh,
Yeah, it's incredible.
she plays more than me sometimes.
Does she design all the swag as well?
Yeah, she designs a lot of it, and right now she's actually focused on her own clothing line. She's working on a brand called House of Caswell, and it's a women's wear. So I've known her since first grade. So we go
fantastic.
way
back.
way back. So when we first started getting together and dating, she showed me a lot of her designs that she made when she was a kid. She's been designing clothes since she was a child. And so now she is like working on it like for real. So it's kind of cool to see her grow so much and to evolve so much. She's actually probably doing that as we speak right now.
Great. Now, let's get to the controversy.
Sure.
This thing about people thinking that what you do is not real. Any guitarist with any experience can look at what you're doing and seeing that it's real. So pretty much all yous that think that what Charles is doing is fake says a lot about your ability to figure things out. I mean, it's clearly not fake. What's going on with that?
Well, it's funny. I was on Instagram the other day and I watched this video of this person standing on a chair, and the teacher was like, pull on me. And it was so much easier to pull the person down than it was for him to pull the person up. So I think symbolically, I mean, it's so easy to tear each other down versus actually pull each other up and lift each other up and to work hard and to actually focus on something positive. It's just there's so much more momentum towards the negative. And unfortunately, in the guitar community, it's a lot of negativity, and it's a lot of this is fake, and I see it all the time with amazing guitar players. So I don't feel alone. There's a David Glover is another guy that gets a lot of hate. He's 17 years old. He crushes it. Absolutely crushes it. Yeah. It's almost like a badge of honor at this point, where if the music police are accusing you, you're doing something right. And I can honestly say that there was a moment in time where I didn't know that if we would still be able to do this because of how much hate we were getting, and we made it through like the worst of the worst, and we actually came out so far ahead that we couldn't even imagine it. And so like I think that the worst things are, as far as that area goes, the better off you are ultimately. And it's just proven that from the start.
I just thought of something. It's the same kind of thing with people who propagate conspiracy theories. It's when they can't explain to themselves how something is happening, then it's a conspiracy theory. Just like they can't really figure out, how you're doing what you're doing. So it's got to be fake. Yeah.
It's got to be fake. The video's got to be sped up, or this or this or this. It's a lot of denial, really. It's like you got to take a good look, honest look at yourself and be like, is this really fake, or do I just need to get to work? Do I just need to is this guitar pro, or do I just need to do I just need to do my job? And you can poke holes in their logic all day long, but at the end of the day, that's not what they want. I've tried to do, the raw takes, the raw videos.
Hello, motherfucker.
It's just that's not what they're looking for. It's like this, anytime you play live or do a camera phone quality video or anything like that, it's just that's not what they're doing. They just want to Just don't want to be haters, I guess, at the end of the day. And it's fine. If that's what they choose, I respect their opinion. If they think it's fake and all that stuff, I respect it. If they don't, I actually have more respect if they just don't like the music. But a lot of the time, like, they'll just say it's fake, but they won't actually say it's bad music. So I'm like, so do you like it then? Does that mean it's good? Like, even if it was as fake as you imagine it being or wish it was, like, does that mean it's good? Because that's at the end of the day, that's all I'm going for. I'm going for, like, what I think sounds cool and what I hear in my mind. And I like to push myself too. Like, I like to write runs that are like goal runs and then work on it. I use a stylus pick for alternate picking. I'm sure our fans can see. Our fans know what this is about, and that just, it changes your game. It really does. But you have to put in the work, and you have to use a metronome.
Wait, the stylus pick, like, I can't see it from where you're showing it right now, but that's the one that has like the little triangle on the end of the pick, is it?
Yep.
Yeah, I remember when the first time I saw that.
Yep. It makes you feel like the worst guitar player in the world for the first couple of months, but once you go back to a regular pick, you have so much ergonomically, like, proficient with your wrist and everything, and I don't know, it just saves you a lot of work. I used to have a lot of wrist issues too because I worked in a factory. Before doing this full time, I worked in a CNC machine factory, so it's like 12-hour days, and my hands and my wrists, my elbows were just super sore and like just killed. And using this kind of minimized a lot of my movement, and it helped me just like not overexert certain parts of my hand, and so it kind of helped in more ways than one.
So this leads me to for people who want to play your style and maybe even play some of your tunes and songs, do I need a Legator Demonberry CC7?
I would like to think so, but you really just need a decent guitar. Like, I think, to be honest, I think if you're starting out, get something that's a standard scale length, 25.5, 24 frets, floating trem. If you can find a kill switch from Tessie, put one on there and go to town and just start out really slow. Yeah, but you're going to want to like make a list of the tricks you want to learn the tricks, and then you at the same time you still got to practice melody writing, you still got to practice ear training. Practice staying in time. Like, there's a lot of it, so it's not so much as like learning the tricks, it's how to implement them too, because I see a lot of people that can do the tricks now, but they're not quite there on the ear training. They got to keep going, keep writing, and that's the whole thing. Just like keep writing, don't get hung up on a song for 5 years. Like, say your piece on it, keep moving.
Let's go back to the guitar though.
Yeah.
That guitar is your guitar. It's your signature series guitar.
It's amazing. Yeah, the thing is stunning. I got it right here, actually. So this thing, it's the Demonberry CC7 from Legator. This isn't the final one. It still has I wanted dotted inlays because I think that would be just so much more helpful when you're playing. And so we did the black dot inlays, and it's still got the floating trem, sustainer setup, which is amazing. Super lightweight, very, very thin neck, like incredibly thin neck. Yeah, it's...
And with the extended scale, is it a bigger stretch?
Yeah,
like that much of a bigger stretch?
It's a noticeably bigger stretch depending on certain things that you're trying to do, but you just have to get the hang of it. For example, like if I went and picked up my Legator like Strat, it'd feel like a toy. because it's like 22 frets and stuff. So that's kind of nice. But then there's just a certain type of sound you get with this, and then you can tune it lower if you want as well. You just get like a really clean note. And lately I've been staying in standard, but I've been pitch dropping in Pro Tools, so I can like go as low as I want to go without having to pick up another guitar, and it's been really fun. But yeah.
And why maple fretboard over the rosewood?
I just like the brightness of the maple. But yeah, I really like the way this neck sounds. I really like all the little like hand noises and stuff this thing makes. Or, well, I guess my hands make, but against the tone of the wood and stuff. It's just really cool. And then the flame top is just super dope. And it's the first Legator with my crossbones inlay. So that's kind of like a really big moment for me and for Kaylie, really.
Of course, yeah. So I was watching some of the videos and I noticed that your bar is actually very close to the body of your guitar. Unlike, on my traditional Strat, it's kind of like, a lightning rod.
Yeah, it's like poking out like that.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, that's strategic for sure, so I can do like flutters without having to like pick and then pull down like that. So I can flutter like this. It just really doesn't like put me out at all to use the tremolo arm this way. I like to alternate pick, and I just keep it in my hand this way. And if it stuck out more, it would just be kind of a pain. Especially when you start doing stuff with the kill switch. Like if you try to use and this is something that not a lot of people do, and I don't think I've ever seen anybody else do it, is where they actually, I'll use the kill switch with the tremolo arm. Like I've learned how to dip notes while pressing down on the kill switch. So it goes like, and I'm not plugged in, having the bar more in line with the neck makes that easier, so I don't have to like jump over it every time with my hands and jam my hand. Like I've jammed my hands on a tremolo arm before. It does not feel good, and it's sad.
So did it take a lot of back and forth between the guitar company and yourself when you were trying to sort this out?
Actually, the only thing we had to sort out was the color, like really dialing in the color. They're very mindful, and I think they're very thoughtful with their instruments. They have a lot of really good guitar players that work for them. So it's like they kind of have a really good idea of what is best. And I just let them do their thing. They've always done a really amazing job. But this one is like the best. It's like the best 7-string I've ever played. It's just kind of crazy. Like I've played a lot of 7-strings. It's really lightweight. It sits on me really. It's super comfortable. It's like lightweight, but with a sustainer. It helps sit up more like this if I stand and play, versus the other guitars, like the longer scale means a little bit heavier neck. And so if you don't have something weighing it down, it kind of wants to do this a little bit.
Yeah, neck heavy.
Yeah, it's a little neck heavy, but with this, it's just like, that was the cherry on top. That was what makes it perfect for sure.
Now, if you're kind of guy who plays it on just like sitting on your right leg, not classical style, is it still as comfortable?
It's still comfortable, but I don't really play that way. Like I mostly keep it like this because I'm really trying to keep my back and my posture straight, because my posture has just gone to crap from all the computer and guitar work and stuff. So I tend to, instead of being like this, where I already feel that, like sitting like this in my back, like I'll do this. And this was it's basically just resting naturally. And then I can keep my posture upright. And a lot of times I'll play in front of a computer monitor or something, so I don't have to look down. And so I'm like looking ahead, if that makes sense. So I don't have to do this like and all that stuff. It's like it's like something that's going to give me returns long term.
Yes, I know. I have a back injury, so yeah.
Oh,
I know exactly I know how it goes. That's great. I find myself like this, but my back injury was not guitar. It was thank you jiu-jitsu.
Jiu-jitsu. I was just going to ask.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly how we did it.
I'd hate to see what the other guy looks like.
So, your sound. I noticed that Audio Assault has the Berry amp, And I'm wondering, how often do you use that? How often are you using the Headrush, or do you use the Headrush with the Berry amp? Do you use them separately? How does it go with your sound?
What's really cool is the Headrush has a clone capability, so I can clone the Berry amp. I can clone anything I want. And so whatever I create with the Berry amp, I usually just just clone it and put it on my Headrush. So they kind of are interchangeable. However, I really enjoy the clean tone from the Misha Tone Forge amp, which I don't even think is available anymore. It's just really glassy. So I cloned that for my Headrush as well. And I used to use the Line 6 Pod HD 500 for its ambient stuff. It has really cool ambient stuff, but I've been able to recreate it on the Headrush pretty good. So yeah, so your basic, meat and potatoes tones, I use the Berry amp. And for everything else, I have these little like tools I use. Like sometimes I'll plug in the Headrush, sometimes I'll plug in the Tone Forge, sometimes I'll just go DI and then just manipulate the sound from there and use just stock. I mostly have stock Pro Tools plugins along with, the Auto-Tune and the Tone Forge and the Berry amp. And I think Superior Drummer 3, stuff like that. I did recently get I got a multi-band compressor, which was like really, really helpful on mastering.
When you use the whammy pedal or the Headrush version of the whammy pedal, are you going up 2 octaves and then there's like almost a stutter to the sound of the actual high pitch?
Yeah, so it's a combination of a bit crusher and it's a combination of a 2 octave thing, and you can put like multiple effects on that expression pedal, so you can, at the same time you're using a pitch shifter, you can use a bit crusher, you can use whatever you want. It's so sick. Like, I don't know, they gave you it's like option paralysis, but you can make some really unique stuff with it. So yeah, it's like I like to pitch down 2 octaves, I like to pitch up 2 octaves, I like to pitch up 1 octave. Sometimes I like a smart harmony if to follow me, and like, E harmonic minor, but then sometimes I like really dissonant stuff where I just want a half step above, so it just sounds like a pissed off computer. So it kind of lets me go crazy and just like,
I'm glad I got the 2 octave thing right.
Yeah, you nailed the 2 octave thing. And
I nailed the 2 octave.
Sometimes I don't like to use the expression pedal for that too. I just like to use a button that instantly puts me up 2 octaves, so I don't have to hear that wah noise, like stepping on a cat's tail noise. Just in case, like if you want it's just to change those intervals, so you're not hearing the same line of notes. Like you can really spice it up just by pitching things up and down, without having to, jump octaves, somehow find a 48th fret.
How did you go with Headrush as opposed to, let's say, Axe-Fx, like the FM9?
Well, I actually used to have an Axe-Fx. Back in the day, I bought an Axe-Fx Ultra, and it was way too many options for me, and I couldn't really get a decent sound out of it. And then I went and bought an Angle Invader 150, which is just a monster of an amp head, and I bought a Mesa Jumbo Cab, and it sounded pretty good, but it still wasn't really what I was looking for. And my buddy at the time had a Line 6 HD 500, and it sounded sick. And it had a built-in looper, it had a built-in tuner, all this stuff. It had a smart harmony and the expression pedal, and I'm like, this was $500. It sounds great, and you don't have to use an amp. You can plug in directly to the house. On stage, no stage noise or floor noise or whatever, and you're like ready to go. And so I'm like, why am I buying this expensive hunk of junk? So I sold the Axe-Fx, I sold the Invader, and I bought the HD 500, and that's kind of an old model. And so now they have the Helix. They have the Line 6 Helix, which I did purchase a couple years ago, and it wasn't like as fun as a creative tool as the HD 500 was. Like, I want to feel like I'm playing with a toy. I don't want to feel like I'm dialing in a tone for a week just to get it to sound okay. Like, I want to be like, oh, fun, and then like write something and have it inspire different things like right off the bat. And so I did my research. I sold the Helix because that wasn't it either. And I stuck with the HD 500X for a long time until it finally crapped on me in like over the summer. And I didn't get around to looking at other pedal boards until maybe October or so. And I'm like, this Headrush is pretty sick. It's got auto-tune and stuff. It's got like, you can do a vocal chain, you can do a guitar chain. It looks really intuitive, like it's all touch screen. It's crazy. So I was like, this thing, if it's as like advanced as it says it is, this is like the future. And so I bought it on a whim from Sweetwater, and I got it, and just after like an hour, I had sick tones. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for something that I don't have to read the manual. I can plug it in, do a couple things, and be like, this is sick. And now we've got our tones in the cloud, which anybody that has a Headrush can literally type in Berried Alive in the cloud and download our tones. They don't even have to download them. You can hit a button and you can demo the tone in real time before deciding you want it. Like, how crazy is that? You just connect it to your Wi-Fi, be like, oh, a Berry clean tone. What's this sound like? Boop. And then you're like, oh, sick. Stereo delay, like all this stuff. I can hear a 12 or a 2-octave like harmony in the back following me around. Like, I want this one. I'm going to use this. It's just like
incredible.
Instant. Yeah. And then you can connect your Dropbox to it. You can, I have a whole set list in it. So like I can put in a new song and jam along with it. I can turn that song down if I want to hear more of me, turn that song up if I want to hear less of me, slow it down if I want to practice a certain section. It's got a built-in metronome. I literally hit a button and it's got a metronome. And then if it's got a tap too, so I can change the metronome without having to bend over. But yeah, I mean, it's like, it's such a no-brainer that for $1,000, it's just crazy. Like, I'm not even, yeah, it's just like it's not even a question, really.
Yeah, I'm thinking about my F9 now. Maybe I should get rid of it. The Axifex FM9.
Oh yeah,
the Axifex. Yeah, that's what I have. But that intuitive thing and being fast and being able to do things on the fly, that really is where it's at.
You might even want the flex core, because the core, if you don't do vocals, the flex core can still do all the same stuff. It has the expression pedal, and it's half the price and it's half the size. So I know a lot of people that use that, and they gig everywhere. That's like their thing. That you can literally fit it in your gig bag and you're off.
Nice.
Yeah,
and it has great sounding amps, amp sims and all that stuff.
Yeah, and if it doesn't, you can. If you have amps, you can clone them. Like so this is a secret, but whatever. So my lead tone is not actually, it's actually a stock Sans amp plugin that comes stock with Pro Tools. So it's like a really old vintage amp, and I didn't have the software to clone it yet, so I went and bought one off Reverb. So I literally bought a real Sans amp. I had to make sure it was an old one and it was in good shape. So I was able to clone my exact lead tone for the Headrush. So now I've got like a built-in lead tone, so like all the albums, like if I play live, it sounds like the album. So that's like really exciting to me, because I haven't been able to do that. It's always been like I have to open my DAW just to enjoy my lead tone. But yeah.
So it's a Sans. You got the Sans amp pedal?
No, it's actually the rack mount. So I have the Sans amp rack mount with the 99 different settings. So I actually love the way it sounds. It sounds amazing, but I don't want to buy like a gate. I don't want to buy like a real noise gate and a Furman unit and create like a live rig. So I just kind of keep it clean, keep it in the closet in case I ever need it or want to take it out. But like I've got a low gain that's perfect for blues, and that's actually the tone that I practice with. It doesn't have it's zero. I turn off the gates, so I don't have a gate, and then I have a really low gain on the Sans amp, and then I just have like a little reverb, so it's not so dry, and that's kind of usually what I'm playing along with, or playing.
Is that the tone kind of that you used on the solo for The Fruit of All Evil?
Nailed it. That's that one. Yep. That's the exact one. It's just like buttery, a little bit of gain. You can create a little more
Yep.
gain with your hands if you want to. Some dynamics. It's not just like distortion.
Was that solo? Now, when I was asking you about improvised solos, was that solo an improvised solo?
I would say like section by section it was kind of improvised, but it wasn't like hit record and all of a sudden it just comes out. It was just like feeling around. I was like, oh, that sounds kind of cool. And let's do like this would be a good part to do like a descending chromatic thing and then go back into more of a pentatonic thing and like finale run up the neck, that diminished alternate picking lick up into the reoccurring part.
Oh, yeah.
And stuff. So it didn't take, I would say, probably a half hour. Like that song took about a day to make, I would say. Something
Now,
like that.
that run is very difficult. To keep your chops up, how much are you practicing a day to keep those kind of picking chops up? Which seems to me like the second you stop, like it just, for me at least, when I stop working on my picking, it just automatically goes down.
Yeah, alternate picking is a tough one to keep sharp. It really is. I practice on when I don't have a bunch of stuff to do, like it's been a very hectic month. I probably work on just fundamentals for about 6 hours a day, just fundamentals. And we're not talking about writing music. We're not talking about recording. We're not talking about actually jamming. You know what I mean? So it's like alternate picking, like what I'll do is I'll turn the click track on. Maybe I'll start out at 100 BPM, nothing too nuts. And I'll do chromatics just up the neck. Sometimes I'll just work on a string. I'll just work up the string, up the neck, back down, next string, up the neck, back down, next string, all 7 strings. And then if I'm working on a particular run from a solo, like for Ready to Rot, there was a little run in there that was kind of difficult for me to like hop over the strings. They were pissing me off a little bit. So I took that little run and I turned it into an exercise and I do it up the neck. It's a 2-string run. So it's like a 2-string lick. So I'll run it up the neck on the E and B, back down on the E and B, then the B and G, up and down and so forth. And then not only that, like I have to keep this hand strong. So I'll work on, keeping my pinky engaged with my middle finger by doing trills and all that stuff, practice my octave tapping, and there's a lot, but it's really enjoyable for me though. And if I get disengaged, if I check out mentally, I'll try to turn it into a song. And that's why I love writing music so much, is like I can turn an exercise into a song to keep me like interested in it, and then I can speed that up too as I go progressively getting more comfortable.
So if you're going to segment your fundamentals, let's just say there's alternate picking, there's your right hand tapping, and what else?
There's tremolo arm stuff, so there's like tremolo work with dives and flutters and all that stuff. There's kill switch stuff, which is literally like turning on like you can turn your metronome to like 100 BPM, maybe you change it to 16th notes or 8th notes and try to tap along to it, and not focus so much over on your fretting hand, just focus on maintaining that accuracy with the kill switch. And then combining the tremolo with the kill switch, like that's another thing. That's a whole other animal, literally. And then, your bends.
If somebody signs up for lessons with you, which they can, on your site,
yes,
I'd imagine that you have a whole slew of exercises that you could give the student if they're working on trem stuff, or if they're working on kill switch stuff. If they happen to buy your guitar from Legator.
Yeah,
and want to embark.
If they're willing to put in the work, I can give them all the stuff they want to work on till they're blue in the face. That's for sure. Till their hands fall off. But you got they want to be willing to do it, and a lot of them are. But a lot of them have very specific goals too. And so I kind of approach each student as like a very unique thing and very tailored and customized to them. So
Nice.
A lot of them just want to get better at production. And so we work on production. Some of them do want to get better at fundamentals, but I still encourage them to work on ear training too, because you can get really fast at a scale, but then what? You're really fast at a scale. So it's like, how do we implement this into something that expresses you? And so it's a lot of that, and giving people what they need without overwhelming them, because you easily can. It's like you tell somebody to get really good at like diminished chromatic stuff, alternate picking, and they're going to be pretty sad after a month when they're only like this much better, because they don't realize you literally have to live and breathe it for like a year. Like that run that you mentioned in the Fruit of All Evil, I've been doing that kind of stuff since 2014, 2013. Like, I'm a huge Jeff Loomis fan, and he's like diminished chromatic master. Same with Emil Wurzler, if you've heard of him. He's like a Django style gypsy jazz.
Yeah.
And so like that's what really got me into that like dark sound, and just been grinding on it. I remember being on tour, being introverted on tour, and sitting in the van by myself, and it's like 100 degrees in there, and I've got my little like travel Legator guitar, and I'm like literally working on those runs while in the van.
Nice.
Yeah.
One of the things that I like about our we had a conversation yesterday, although we mentioned it earlier, and also even now the way that you're talking is that there is I think people can overlook it, but there is a warmth to your approach, and I really like that, and the way, especially the way you're talking about how you want to build students, how you want to build them up. I think that's really maybe somebody would disagree with me, but I really think that that's an overarching thing that I hear not only in your music, and like I said, as aggressive as it is, as aggro as it is, there is a warmth to it, and there's something uplifting about it, and it also comes across in the way that you were describing how you would take care of your students, and I think that that's really commendable. Not everybody has that, and yeah, respect.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. That's an interesting point. I don't know. I just try to do what I would want somebody to do for me. And it's cool that music is what got me through a lot of really difficult times. And the fact that I can return the favor is just like a blessing.
Yeah. And I think, you know what? I think that that's a really great place to stop.
I think so too.
Because
that felt good.
Yeah, it did. I think that I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you coming on here and doing this and demystifying when we don't talk with you, we don't get a chance to know you just by seeing your Instagram posts. It's very easy to get a certain kind of impression of who you are, which is not really who you are. You're this, warm, lovable guy who kills on the guitar.
Yeah, the internet is it's like you have to put out a little bit of a flex of a facade. You know what I mean? That's the that's the entertainment industry, but the music is 100% genuine. Just sometimes it comes across maybe it comes across cocky. I know people have said that, but it's just like I'm just trying to be able to play music for a career. If I have to get called this or that by a couple people, so be it. It's like so worth it in every way, hands down.
Yeah. And a little bit of cockiness, hey, never hurt anybody.
It's important to be confident. I've had confidence issues my whole life. I was overweight. I was a chubby little kid with glasses, and so like trying to learn how to have some self-love has been like a lifelong journey for me. So I appreciate your time, Professor O'Kane, and this has been sick.